Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, we have a Kevin Durant update, and we'll try to be as positive as possible. What's the schedule look like now that the NBA Cup is come and gone? How can the Suns stay afloat? And they have a bigger cushion than we might think in the Western Conference. Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen to kick off your Thursday, another game day for the Suns. Don't forget, Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button wherever you're finding us and do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked onto the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel, where new customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Joining me, as always, from the wonderful West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling on this Thursday, Ben Garcia?
I'm okay. Kevin Durant's injury is worse than I thought it was going to be, but at least we're not Pelicans fans. I mean, they don't have Jose Alvarado. They're not going to have Brandon Ingram. They're not going to have Zion Williamson. They actually might just pull someone out from the crowd, Calvin Cambridge style, and just have them play. And we'll just see how it goes. And you know what's frustrating? The Suns might still find a way to lose that game. Brooklyn Nets style.
Yeah, well, I would like to say the
Jesus.
Nets are actually a scarier team, but they didn't have Cam Thomas in that game, and I'm going to, end up eating my words if I get too far ahead of myself. But yeah, no Alvarado, no Jordan Hawkins. Ingram is questionable. Herb Jones is questionable. Yves Missy is questionable. No Zion. That is what we're looking at. But we're not going to spend too much time deep dive previewing that game because I do think it's one the Suns should be able to take care of business in, and we will have a recap afterward. Let's also save some standings talk for the end of the show here. And I do want to talk a little bit about, now that we know the schedule, Ben, some things that the Suns can maybe do to avoid that 1-6 fate that hit them the first time that KD went down. But before we get to all of that, the nuts and bolts of the injury update here. The Suns released a statement saying that KD will be reevaluated in a week. That was quickly followed up by John Gambadoro and Shams Charania basically echoing the same thing. I would say Shams was actually a little more negative, Ben, where he said that 1 to 2 weeks, and he basically said they'll reevaluate him in a week, but expect him to miss time beyond that. I don't know how closely Shams is looking at that schedule, but Gambo basically said the next 3 games, and he'll be back either for Utah or Portland, which were the 2 games that were added during that NBA Cup stretch that we'll talk about here. So I have to say, I agree with what you just said. This is worse than I thought. I figured he might be back, I don't know, within the games we already knew were on the schedule, the next couple over the weekend, and obviously this is worse than that for sure.
I thought he'd be back by Saturday. You and I were texting earlier this morning, and just kind of throwing stuff out for the show. We kind of already knew what we were going to talk about. Especially after Kevin Durant's injury last night. But I told you, I was like, well, I hope it's mild, but even if it is, and he can play tomorrow, or I guess today, when this will be airing. But I was like, listen, if he misses the Pelicans game, fine. They'll be able to take care of business. No problems there. Seriously, no one is playing for that team. But I would like to see him back on Saturday. I really don't want to see him miss that Magic game, man. Like, I do not want to see them get boat raced again in Orlando against a team that is really big, really physical, and is playing some exceptional basketball right now. And they don't even have Paolo Banchero yet. And the Suns are no longer in the business. I understand, the Suns still have some wiggle room, but the Suns are no longer in the business of just giving away games. Had they won that Brooklyn Nets game and didn't let that slip away, maybe I'm thinking a little bit differently. But I'm not in the business of giving away these games. And, not having Kevin Durant, I'm pretty much penciling that Magic game in for a loss. And it just sucks, man. It just sucks that it's worse than it really was, because that they're going to reevaluate him in a week, right? That doesn't mean he's going to be back in a week. Although, if there's one person that's really super accurate on these things, it is Gambo. So I would anticipate him being back next week for the Jazz game because that's like 15 days from now, it feels like. But still, it's just another gut punch, man. Just another gut punch.
Yeah, I'm having trouble being being positive right now. I'm not gonna lie. I was like sitting there waiting and like I'm at a loss for words a little bit. I know that is the absolute wrong thing to say as I'm sitting here hosting a podcast, but I posted on X today that I feel like the Mavs must have Jason Kidd, Luka Doncic, somebody was casting spells on that sideline in 2022 because it has been one thing after the next. It has been 3 seasons of this. It has been. You realize KD played 4 games and now he's starting 4 games. That is the grand total. He played Lakers, Nets, Warriors, and then he got hurt again last night.
So
3 and a half. I mean, not even 4.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up something that I found. Yeah, here it is. This was put out by, I love to give credit, PHX Fans AZ. Now it's got 37,000 views. It looks like it's completely accurate, but this person had posted, both either man or woman, said Game 2, Beal hurt. Game 4, Beal returns. Game 4, Beal hurt. Game 6, Beal returns. Game 9, Durant hurt. Game 11, Beal returns. Game 11, Beal hurt. Game 17, Durant returns. Beal returns. Game 18, Beal hurt. Game 20, Beal returns. Durant hurt. That is what has been the season so far. And it's just crazy, this mirage of like, the first, 9 games of the season where Suns are 8-1, and you and I did an argument of like, hey, are they closer to what they were, that 8-game win streak or whatever it was, or that 5-game losing streak? And it is kind of hard at this point not to lean towards the maybe they're just that team that's always going to be injured, and Brooklyn Nets literally part 2.
Well, so here's my thing, right? Because I said yesterday that my read on Bud in that press conference was that it was getting to him more than it maybe had all season. And I think we saw some games during KD's first absence where obviously Beal was out as well, where I think that there was just kind of like a looking ahead feel to it, where they knew they had that big break between games, that 6-day break, and that KD was probably going to come back for the Lakers game. And I think you could look at like the Knicks game or the Magic game in there or whatever, and maybe the Thunder game, and just be like, they just kind of went into it like going through the motions. Let's just wait till our guy gets back. Do you think it changes this time to where it starts to kind of weigh on them? I wouldn't say it was weighing on anybody the first time around, but now with this, and obviously Nurk's still out and expected to come back for that same stretch between Utah and Portland, do you think it becomes like hanging their heads, this season's kind of teetering, or are we too early for that from a player standpoint?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think players think like that either, but even more than any of that, I would also say that it was a turned ankle. Like, this is something that I talked about last night. If it was a hamstring, a soft tissue injury, a calf, something like that, again, this early, this back-to-back, if you're a player, you're like, come on, man. You got a back injury, or you got a calf injury. He twisted an ankle. It's just annoying. Like, the ankle injury is just annoying because that's unavoidable.
I think about that game. I think it was the Magic game where Book was very no, it was the Knicks game where he was very visibly frustrated, and I tweeted out that sequence, and the energy, the intensity was kind of fluctuating, and he was it was a little bit what's the word, blasé? Is that the right word? Does that am I making any sense? I don't know.
I don't even know what that means.
Let me Google it now because I don't want to just blow past it. Unimpressed or indifferent because someone has experienced or seen something so often before. AKA, I freaking nailed it. That is exactly the word that I was thinking of. I don't know. That is lingering in my head a little bit. That image of Book doing that, where I wonder if, maybe more so if, like, I don't know, what if he doesn't come back for the Utah or Portland game, or whatever the case may be, or if we see another injury in the next few games and suddenly someone else is out. I worry that we're maybe getting to that point where it does start to kind of affect the mental of the team. Maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe it's affecting my mental, and I'm worried it'll do the same for other guys.
With no Yusuf Nurkic tomorrow and no Kevin Durant, but man, the Pelicans with literally no one in. Let me just ask you this. How would you think the Suns, how many points do you think the Suns would be favored by tomorrow? This is going to go somewhere as I'm looking at this.
I haven't looked, so I'm fresh here. 4.5, 5.5.
They're favored on the road by 1.5 against the Pelicans. That shows you what the wise guys. This is ESPN.
1-6 without KD. So
exactly.
The math says who cares who they're playing?
Exactly.
I mean, their schedule was harder the first time around, but still.
But there were still some winnable games in there, and they didn't win any of them. So It's not just you and I feeling doom and gloom. The wise guys, these are the sharps, these are the people putting their money down. That line should have moved, right? And it opened at 1.5. It stayed at 1.5. And it's basically a pick'em game. Like, that's what the Suns are looking at right now without Kevin Durant, is a team that is kind of miserable and unwatchable. And, we talked about earlier this Suns team being likable. They are having a really tough time becoming likable to fans who are tweeting at me, who are tweeting at you, or tweeting at the show, just like, all right, I've already given up. It's 20 games into the season and people are already giving up. I'm not there.
But here's the thing, right? Like, by the time they got healthy last year, I think that there was some emotional damage that had already been done, right? So, I'm not sitting here saying that they're going to walk out on Thursday in New Orleans and just say, F it, we're not going to win, so and drop the ball. But I am just saying, these seasons suck already. 82 games is a lot. You got to get along and jive and be in that kind of foxhole. And so these constant one step forward, two steps back, I think if you're a human, it will get to you. So I hope we see kind of a resilience here. I hope it is only 3 games. But let's fast forward to the 2 games that did get added to the Phoenix Suns schedule, which were at Utah and home against Portland about a week and a half from now, exactly when these 2 dudes are supposed to be returning. Did the Suns kind of get lucky? Was losing out on the NBA Cup maybe the better option? And how do they win these games without Durant and Nurkic, no matter who they're playing? We'll get there next. First, today's show is brought to you by Chime. We've all been there, spending more money than we should during the holidays. You want to treat your friends and family. You want to be that person who gets people what they deserve and show them how much you appreciate them. Well, take control of your finances and do just that by using a Chime checking account with features like no monthly or maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. You can learn more at chime.com/NBA. Join millions of Chime members who are working on financial progress. Chime helps with fee-free overdraft up to $200. You can get spotted on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. And there's over 50,000 fee-free ATMs in their network. To date, Chime has spotted members over $32 billion in transactions through SpotMe. How it works is you set up your direct deposit in your Chime account. After a qualifying direct deposit of $200 or more, Chime will notify you to enroll in SpotMe with that activated card. Chime will spot you up to $200 on card purchases and cash withdrawals. Your next direct deposit is then applied to your negative balance, and Chime never charges you overdraft fees for using that SpotMe service. Enjoy the holidays while keeping your financial fees and goals on track with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. That's chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Direct deposit timing depends on submission to payment file. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in SpotMe and are subject to monthly limits. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs and OTC withdrawals. Alrighty, Ben, let's keep it rolling here. We have 2 new games on the Suns schedule, which we learned about after they did not qualify for the knockout round of the NBA Cup. So they will have a break Monday through Thursday of next week. So after the Orlando game on Sunday, which is the second night of a back-to-back in Florida, they get 4 days at home to rest and recuperate here, and then play in Utah, and then 2 days later back home against the Portland Trailblazers. So you were kind of right about the NBA Cup. I mean, you definitely saw this coming, right? You had the crystal ball out, and you said, hey, they're going to play the Jazz and the Blazers, so we might as well skip out on the knockout rounds and just take the 2 wins here.
Oh, God. Hey, can I ask you a really quick question about the NBA Cup? And because I'm just curious. What do you think matters more? And then I'll kind of talk about the Jazz and the Trailblazers here. But I think it's an interesting question. What do you think is a bigger accomplishment, an NBA Cup title or winning your division?
I think you picked two of the things that matter the least in the NBA. So I'm going to go with the NBA Cup because at least there's like a pomp and circumstance to it, right? Like they go out to Vegas, there's a trophy, national TV, et cetera, et cetera.
You get a home,
Winning a
but you get a home playoff
doesn't
series.
matter at all anymore.
Well, you get a home playoff series. Like
If you win your
effectively.
division? No, you don't.
Well, no. But if you win your division, you're effectively getting a home playoff series. I mean, you should.
Well,
I guess it's not.
Yeah,
I guess
'cause
it's
you're
not
probably a pretty
entitled.
good team at that
Yeah,
point,
I guess
but
it's not
because you won
entitled.
your division. I mean, the top of the West last year had 3 teams from the same freaking conference, and it didn't even matter who won it. I mean,
okay,
the Thunder,
on
the
most
Wolves, and
years-
the Nuggets were all at the top.
I'm not okay. I'm putting it out there. You're not just getting one. I'm saying that you should get one if
Yeah.
that's the case. And so
Well,
that's
if it's
why
like
when you
being first in the West or winning the NBA Cup, probably being first in the West.
but probably,
But that's not related to your
probably.
division. That's just like having a good record.
Brendon, if you could be a top 4 seed automatically or win the NBA Cup, which by the way would be an amazing thing for the NBA Cup to be out there, like make it worth something, either a playoff spot or a top 4 seed or whatever it is. Again, irrelevant.
I agree.
But this goes to, and then I would really care. I would super care about it because if the Suns automatically got a top 4 seed with this roster or whatever,
Or even just an
I don't have to
automatic
worry about
playoff
it.
berth, right? Like you make
I
the
think you should.
playoffs.
I think you should get a first round home series. Like if you want to really make it matter, I think you should get a first round. But either way, so that just a long way of answering your question where you're like, did you get it right? Like, no, I didn't have a crystal ball out, but yeah, I was right. Because at the end of the day, like it's stupid. It is kind of fun in the moment because these semifinal games, for some reason, will matter. I say for some reason because athletes, whenever you put like a winner take all in any environment, they're just going to play harder, which is why even my stupid dream of
LeBron embarrassing Zion last year. We all remember that. We all remember AD in the final against the Pacers. Like it's going to be fun. People will be reminded of it.
Yeah, of course.
I agree that the play in, like the group stage is a little bit boring and weird because it just feels like a normal game and then there's like wacky courts and stuff. But this is why I wanted the Suns to make the knockout round, is because like it does bring another level of competition, and I do think it's going to be fun again, but I don't really care if they're in it. I'll still watch it.
What would have been the most fun about that is we would have, if everyone stayed healthy, which obviously wouldn't have happened no matter what. Kevin Durant would not be playing in these games. And if he wasn't 100%, that is a fireable offense to everyone on the medical staff. But what I would have liked to see is, because last year in the NBA Cup, teams were like shrinking down their rosters. They were playing like 8 guys. Like they were playing playoff rotational guys. That would have given us a nice little checkpoint on where Bud was at. If Oso would have been in that, if Ryan, that would have been the only thing that I would have been like, oh, okay, here's our nice little checkpoint, but we won't get to see that till March, April. But that would have been the only thing. Yeah.
Well,
yes,
I don't think we need to talk about the games like in depth. We'll get there when we get there, and we'll cover them when they come. But in general, I wanted to ask you this: what's one thing you think needs to change? Well, the first thing that already has changed, and the reason I started with the schedule, is these games are easier than the first time Katie was out. So that should, like, the one game that they won was the Jazz. In this go-round, they already are playing the Jazz if he ends up missing that game, plus the Pelicans and whatever. So it should be a little bit smoother sailing, and Portland's not such a great team if it lasts that long. But besides that, what do you want to see from this team to prove themselves and acquit themselves a little better and hopefully not just fall off the face of the earth again when they lose this guy?
Yeah, it sounds stupid, but I want them to be viable. They weren't even viable without Kevin Durant. Do you really want to turn the season around? Like, it was already turned around in the beginning, and then it got flipped on its head, and then guys got injured. If the Suns really want to show everyone that everything is okay, and I do not think that this is crazy, I think the Suns can do this. Go 3-0 in this stretch without Kevin Durant. The Magic, yes, they're playing really good basketball. They're a physical team. They'll be at home. They have a lot of tough defenders. They're really big. But
they're not playing the Suns' kryptonite. Goga Bitadze is the Suns' killer. He's out of the rotation now, so maybe that's the W coming.
they're beatable. And not only that, the Heat are beatable. I understand they beat the Lakers tonight by 41 freaking points, but you beat the Pelicans and you beat the Heat, which I think are totally viable things. And then you beat potentially the Orlando Magic, maybe try to get a little get back against that game or against that team that got you. You then are setting yourself up with a 3-game win streak against the Jazz, the Blazers, the Pacers, the Pistons. Then you're at 7 games. And then at that point, the Suns would be 19-8 on the season. Like, that is not too far off the horizon. If we're looking at that for the Suns team that could kick it into a different level that I think is better than what they showed without Kevin Durant last week, that's what I need to see. Like, show some viability.
Well, I guess how though? Like, that's my question. Like, what do you feel like is the missing ingredient that they can realistically do this time that wasn't there? Right? I mean, okay, win games. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
I mean, but is it like competitive spirit? Is that all you're saying?
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say was competitive spirit. What did I tell you when you and I were watching that Knicks game together? When you pointed out to me, oh yeah, Booker's in it with the refs. He's in his own head. That team cannot get in their own head again, man. They were in a bad place without Kevin Durant, and I think the Julius Randle game winner really put them over the top. And then you had the Magic, and then you had the Knicks. Like, show some competitive spirit. Like, go out there and play with some pride, because that Knicks game, there was no pride in that game, man. I said this before, and I'll say it again. They were playing like it was the last game before an All-Star break, and everyone knew that they were going to have 4 days off, like as if they were kids in school waiting for the 4-day weekend. I can't see that again, man. And we can't afford to see that again. This team is not likable right now, and that needs to change. So, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say was competitive spirit. Like, what are you going to do schematically wise? What are you going to change? You're not going to change much without Kevin Durant.
Here's what I would say. I think the defense needs to be better, period. And that's the thing that slipped last time where it shouldn't have, right? Where you have, Julius Randle going off. You have, Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs going off, I believe, in that game and giving up 138 to the Knicks. I mean, I know the Knicks have like the best offense in the league, but 138 is another level. They just gave up 127 in overtime to the Kings, and it only took 4 quarters for the Knicks to get 138. So defense would be one for me. It sounds like I kind of won you over that the spirit thing is in question here. That's what I was saying in the last segment. I don't want this situation to build where it becomes an emotional weight on these guys, and it sounds like I might have convinced you.
Well, you did convince me, because that's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, gosh dang it, now I got to agree with Brendon. But you're right, man. Like, we just can't go down that dark path again.
Like, I don't know if it was because of the injury, but it was a problem. Whatever the reason was, when Durant was out last time, we saw some moments where that effort level and that emotional focus just wasn't there, and that can't be the case. You got to just kind of get through it, and you got to, like you said, you got to try to turn some of these games into wins. I mean, plenty of teams win without their best players all the time. It's the NBA.
All the
guys
time.
Are out all the time, so that means sometimes
Clippers are
teams
doing it
win
right now
without it. So, crazier things have happened.
Well, because like you were, it almost seemed like you were asking me for like a schematic thing, right? And like I could say defense, like it has to be better, like you had just said. But like Kevin Durant's been an outstanding defender this year. You lose one of your biggest players, and I don't mean like in terms of skill. I mean like physically bigger players who's been a really good defender. I don't know how much better you can be defensively if that's the case.
Your two biggest players, because Nurkic.
Oh yeah, Nurkic is out
their
too.
Position.
Man, they're small. Man, that Magic game might be really tough to watch. They might just get bodied.
That one scares me, but I do agree with you. I think New Orleans, Miami, Utah, Portland, those are winnable games. Portland, second,
Indiana, Pistons.
Orlando's, well, I don't think he'll be out that long, because now that's. I
mean, no. I'm saying, but when those guys come, I'm saying when he comes back, though.
Yes.
You have a chance to be what is it? What a 19-10 or whatever, 18-10. Like
that
you can flip things around.
I would think that would be a loss. The second night of a back-to-back. I mean, I know it's Miami to Orlando. It's not like some crazy travel, but still, that one I would hold out a little bit on. But other than that, all these games are winnable. So that should be the goal. I mean, obviously.
Really quickly before you get to your next thing too, just a caveat. This is so obvious, but like Bradley Beal needs to stay healthy. Like he needs to stay healthy. Wrap that guy up with bubble wrap. I don't care, man. You're going to have to play hurt. If Kevin Durant can't play, you cannot play either. You need to stay healthy. So yeah.
I mean,
that was another reason why their defense was bad, by the way.
The schedule is better. Beal is also in the lineup, and that was not the case last time. So
no,
definitely a helper, and for the defense, like you said. All right. Last but not least, a reminder, a quick look at the standings to remind ourselves and all of you that the hole is not that deep. The West is very jumbled. We'll talk about just how jumbled and where the Suns might land coming up next. First, today's show brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. This weekend in the NFL, we have one tasty, delicious, big favorite, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles at home against the Carolina Panthers. Minus 720. That's a good one. I know Bryce Young's played a little better, but it's the Panthers. Come on. The Eagles are looking very, very good. The Panthers are the Panthers. College football, the big favorites are kind of gone because we're into championship weekend. I'm sorry, guys. You're going to have to get a little bit more strategic here, but go with the Eagles. Get that 150 in bonus bets, then get to work on the fun stuff, all at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Ben. Let's close it out for the folks. I think we can push through this one a little bit quicker here. The Suns are currently 6th in the West. First, actually, I haven't told people to sign up for the Locked On Suns daily newsletter. Click that link in the show description below. Type your email address and get up to date with the latest Suns and NBA analysis straight to your inbox every day. Support the show. Stay up to date with the show. And Ben and I would appreciate it greatly. Also, prove how many Suns fans, even amid the injuries, hey, we still got some folks out here who love basketball. It can't be falling behind the Jazz and all those sorts of things.
Did you see the Mavericks? I was watching to our guy Nick Ang stats. He's got 1,000 people, all those Slovenian listeners. How if you Suns fans really want to be better than the Mavericks in anything, just sign up for the newsletter. Like, just sign up for it. You get to 1,000
with the Mavs. Honestly, I blame the Arizona Cardinals
stupid.
for that. I blame the Arizona Cardinals because there's more Mavs fans because the Cowboys are so famous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're aghast at me, but I fully stand behind that. That is 100% true. If the Cowboys were not such a major draw, then the Mavs would be just any other team. You know,
the Suns fans are just okay with being less than Cowboys fans. Is that what we're saying? Because a lot
of Suns fans probably are Cowboys fans, which is exactly part of the problem that I'm trying to illustrate here. But whatever. Support the show, guys. Prove yourselves as a fan base, please. Prove us as a fan base, but also, good content too. All right. So 6th right now, but they're tied for 7th with the Warriors. They are 10-5 in the conference already, which is a nice start, Ben. A lot of their losses have come outside of that. They are, I guess, what would that be? 2-3 outside of the West. So they're in a good spot, and the Thunder are way out in front of everybody. But after that, between 2 and 11 is 3 losses. And I know that that's intimidating when we get to March and we're like, crap, the tiebreakers and who's going to have to be in the play-in and all that stuff. But right now, it's a nice cushion where even if you lose 3 out of the 4 without KD or whatever it ends up being, you're still right in the mix.
Hey, yeah, Brendon, let's ease everyone's worries about the Suns potentially not being a title team anymore or that they can't do it. Like, let's just say this. When the Suns are fully healthy, because that's a big if, but also everyone's got to be healthy. Like, remember, people forget when the Suns went to the finals, no credit taken away from them. That's just what happens. A lot of players got injured. Anthony Davis got injured. Paul George got injured. Boston got to face teams that were like, that just happens. So everyone's got to stay. You think Luka's going to stay healthy again for an extended run? Like, come on now. The guy can't run on a treadmill for 10 minutes without getting tired. Is there a team outside of the Thunder? Because I spoke to you. I don't want to act like it's scripted here, but I spoke to you before this and I was like, hey, who do you think wins the West? And you were telling me probably the Thunder. And I'd probably agree with that. Is there any team right now in the West that scares you if the Suns played them in a 7-game series? Because there is not a single one to me.
scares me like, oh, they're going to win. And
They're
I'm gonna,
1000% going
Yeah.
to beat the Suns.
no. But that's
None.
honestly, like, that's how I felt before the season. And I guess, right, like, that's kind of the good thing here is that's sort of like once we get to April. But even right now, there's no one even in the regular season who's pulling away. And that's even better, right? Like, I mean, Houston, for instance, like, they're up there. Maybe they finish ahead of the Suns in the standings, but of course they're not scary. So it's kind of a
No.
combination of both. Like, there are going to be some good regular season teams that just, like, the Clippers are technically ahead of the Suns right now.
Yeah.
You know, but then it's like the other element of who can actually string together any longer of a stretch of good regular season performance than the Suns, and that doesn't even seem to be happening. So they're in a good situation all the way around to just like hang in and weather the storm of these injuries, and maybe they only win 47, 48 games, lower than we thought, but they're still looking like that's going to be enough to be right there and maybe not even have to be in the play-in.
Yeah, let's take a checkpoint here. I think you and I both said the Suns would finish as a top 4 seed this year. Are you wavering on that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm wavering on them being a top 4 seed just because, you know, already there's 2 teams kind of pulling away between Houston and Oklahoma City.
Yeah, but we knew that. I don't think either of us thought they were going to be a 1 or 2 seed.
No, but that's just 2 of the 4 slots. You know, that's kind of all I'm saying.
You're
so
just doing the math.
I'm worried
there.
about the top 4 seed, but I still feel totally fine about top 6 seed. And obviously, I feel more than good enough that they're going to be top 10 and be in contention. I mean, really, the 10th seed doesn't count. Nobody's ever actually made the playoffs from the 10th seed. So I'll say top 8. None of that worries me. Top 4, I think we're getting to a point where it's starting to get a little. I mean, what if let's say the Suns go 1-3 or something, like worst case scenario without KD, and the Thunder go 4-0. Now, if we look up at the standings, it'll be 20-5 and 13-11. And then it's like, damn, that's a pretty, so things go pretty quick. So I'm getting a little nervous about top 4.
I'm getting a little nervous, but I don't expect John Morant to stay healthy all year, and people can come at me for that. But like, as much as I find him highly entertaining, he's become Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook-esque, where he's a high-flying guy, but consistently gets injured because those guys that are 6 foot and insanely athletic, they also come to be fairly brittle. So I don't expect them to stay completely healthy. The Dallas Mavericks are already having some health concerns. So are the Suns. So I don't expect either of those teams to go away. The only team that is interesting to me that I think can surpass the Suns and is starting to heat up is the Nuggets. So if you were to ask me now, and I just, redid my take, I think they'd still be the 4 seed for now. And I'd go OKC, probably Houston, because that's just the dumb young team that tries really hard. And kind of maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder of last year. I'd probably take the Nuggets right now over the Suns, is given some of that home court advantage. But I still think I feel pretty good about the Suns being better than every other team. I'm not going to fall into the Clippers trap. I'm never going to buy into the Grizzlies. The Warriors are starting to fade, as I kind of figured they would. Lakers are a joke. And the Spurs, we saw last night, even without Kevin Durant, they beat them. So I'm starting to feel a little better. And I think Suns fans will as well if they look at the standings a bit.
Weird one is Minnesota, who are sitting there at 11, and you would have thought they would be in the mix for that top 4 spot.
So stupid.
We'll see if they figure it out, but they've put themselves in a pretty deep hole here. Yeah, still far from panicking, but gotta string it together at some point. And back to Ben's crystal ball, the Thunder and Rockets, they made the quarterfinals. They made the knockout stage. So their games are about to be harder. They're gonna cannibalize each other a little bit at the top of the West here. Dallas is up there actually in it as well. So
how much better is Oklahoma City than the rest of the West? Like, are they like, if you were putting a tier of teams in the West, and I understand we have to wrap it up here, are they alone? Like, the elites, is that OKC? And then there's the contenders in the West, and then the just happy to be here, and then the vying for the play-in.
As a regular season team, I would say the Thunder are close to a lock already for the 1 seed.
Yeah, I would agree.
They've already had injuries, and they've
they're still missing Chet.
I know. As far as the playoffs and winning the championship, I don't think they're up there by themselves. I just need to see more of the season and more big matchups to really be sure of that. But they're going to win the 1 seed. That feels like a lock. All right, that'll wrap us up. Don't forget to sign up for that newsletter. Support the show that way. Get caught up with the Suns and the NBA each day in your email inbox. Hit follow or subscribe on this show, on this feed, wherever you're finding us. Become an everydayer. We'll have a recap show for you to close out the week after that Suns-Pelicans game on Thursday night. Enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy that game, and we'll catch you then.